Yeah, I look like a Muppet. I don't know what person who doesn't need to be in the hospital be in the hospital for 5 days. You know, I wish I would have known, if I'm being honest, because I heard that somebody told me that he was showing text, so now I can show a text. And please don't, I blocked you. I don't engage. I'm not going to say your name. Just don't talk about me. I don't want anything else to do with you. You're not my friend. Okay, you don't like me. I'm a Muppet. I'm a snagger-tooth. You're right, I'm a snagger-tooth. I have teeth, but I can't chew.
The whispers started soft, but the longer Tamar Braxton kept talking, the louder they grew. Fans have seen Tamar stir up chaos before, but this time her story cracked under its own weight. She claimed she lost teeth. First it was 3, then 4, until the exaggerations grew so wild that people joked she might as well have said 3,000. She added a fractured nose to the tale, painting herself as the survivor of a brutal assault. But receipts told a different story. Pictures surfaced of her glammed up, hitting clubs, moving like nothing had happened. That's when the questions came flying. If her injuries were real, why wasn't she recovering? Why wasn't she under a doctor's care? And most of all, why did her story shift every single time she logged online? At first, Tamar insisted a friend rescued her. Days later, she posted about being completely alone. How could both be true? How could she be found and abandoned at the same time? Then came the location shifts. Atlanta one moment, Miami the next, then suddenly Northside. Fans couldn't keep up, and that was the point. Tamar's story felt less like truth and more like a script rewritten on the fly. Each contradiction looked like a desperate attempt to patch holes. As fans poked through the first version, sympathy faded. People started whispering that this wasn't trauma, this was rollout. A ploy for attention before new music. But through all the noise, one detail stood out louder than the rest. Where were the Braxtons? Normally, when a celebrity cries injury, family rallies around, defending the name, protecting the image. But this time, silence. Toni Braxton stayed quiet. Trina Braxton, always outspoken, said nothing. And Towanda Braxton, the sister known for balancing truth with loyalty, also held her tongue. For fans who followed the family for years, that silence was deafening. It spoke louder than any post. This isn't just any family. The Braxtons built an empire on unity, selling the world on the motto, when one hurts, we all hurt. For years, people believed that bond couldn't be broken, yet here was Tamar, claiming she was shattered while her sisters were nowhere in sight. It raised eyebrows, sparked debates, and forced the public to ask the hardest question: if her own sisters don't defend her, why should anyone else? That question hung in the air until Towanda finally gave the world a glimpse of what was happening behind the curtain. She never said Tamar's name, but her words landed heavy. In a quiet conversation with her husband, she spoke about boundaries. She explained that as adults, each sister has to live her own life, create her own emotions, and stand by her own rules. Just because they were blood didn't mean they had to step into every storm together. She made it clear she has her own family now, her own priorities, and she wasn't sacrificing her peace for someone else's drama. Fans didn't need a name. The timing said it all. Tamar was trending for her injuries, the internet was roasting her contradictions. And suddenly, Towanda was talking about boundaries and refusing to get dragged into chaos that didn't belong to her. That wasn't coincidence, that was message. And though she never said Tamar directly, everyone watching knew exactly what she meant. Tamar, this time, you're on your own. Towanda has been honest before. She once said the family created a monster by indulging Tamar's need for constant attention. What began as childhood dramatics turned into a grown woman pattern of spinning chaos whenever the spotlight dimmed. Look back and the proof is there: an album, a show, a rollout, and like clockwork, a health scare, a relationship meltdown, or an emotional collapse. Fans may have excused it before, but her own family, they weren't excusing it anymore. Towanda's talk of boundaries wasn't soft advice, it was rejection, a refusal to co-sign the circus, a refusal to defend exaggerations, a refusal to burn herself in a fire she didn't set. And that shift shocked longtime fans. Towanda had always been the critic, yes, but she still stood by the family name. This time, she chose peace over loyalty, and that choice spoke volumes. It left Tamar exposed. Without her family behind her, she was just another celebrity spinning wild stories online. Without her sister's validation, the sympathy she wanted never landed. Instead, fans began to see what the Braxtons had hinted at for years. Tamar's mess wasn't just bad timing, it was self-made. And with calm but cutting words, Towanda confirmed what many suspected: the family was done enabling it. Social media split instantly. Some sympathized with Tamar, saying family should always unite. Others applauded Towanda for finally protecting her own peace. But one thing was certain: the Braxtons' silence, broken only by Towanda's indirect words, turned the story upside down. Because now the question wasn't just what happened to Tamar. It was why her family refused to defend her. And that question, more than anything Tamar said, is what kept the public glued to the drama. And let's not sugarcoat it, this wasn't just about setting boundaries. This was Towanda Braxton drawing a line in the sand for the world to see. For years, fans watched Tamar Braxton plunge into scandals right before every rollout. A new single, a TV project, a big appearance, and like clockwork came the chaos. The family always stepped in, defending her, patching cracks, protecting the Braxton brand. But not this time. Towanda's refusal wasn't just family drama. It was accountability. People forget Towanda has always been the sister unafraid to speak hard truths. Years ago, she admitted the family created a monster by feeding Tamar's theatrics. That statement went viral because the pattern was undeniable. Tamar thrived on conflict, demanded attention, and treated drama like oxygen. Towanda wasn't being harsh, she was being honest, and now she's sticking to that same energy. She's finished cleaning up Tamar's storms. When Towanda said everyone has to build their own journey and their own emotions, she wasn't speaking about life in general. She was making it crystal clear Tamar's chaos is no longer her responsibility. She was exposing the difference between being a supportive sister and being dragged into self-inflicted fires. Fans caught it instantly. They didn't need a name. They knew exactly who she was talking about. And the irony, Tamar lives for being named. She thrives on headlines, on being the center of every conversation. But Towanda stripped that power away by refusing to say her directly. It was a clever move. It left Tamar's supporters scrambling to defend her while Towanda stayed calm and untouchable. That's the brilliance of silence. You can speak the truth without saying the name. And still everyone knows who you mean. The internet erupted. Quotes from Towanda spread like wildfire. One fan wrote, "Towanda basically said Tamar's drama is her problem and I respect it." Another said, "When your own blood refuses to stand with you, maybe it's time to accept you're the problem." While Tamar's die-hard fans rushed to defend her, the wider response was clear. Towanda's calm boundary landed harder than any insult. But there's more. Towanda wasn't only protecting herself emotionally, she was protecting herself professionally, because every time Tamar drags the family name into mess, it stains all of them. Producers, networks, brands, they don't just see Tamar, they see the Braxtons. And if Towanda is building her own lane, her own family life, her own peace, she can't afford to let Tamar's circus sabotage that. This wasn't just personal, it was survival, and look at the timing. The Braxtons are reportedly preparing for a fresh chapter, rebranding, posting, stepping back into the spotlight. If Tamar is spinning stories for sympathy or promotion, it risks everyone else's work. Towanda's refusal to defend her wasn't coldness, it was strategy. It was her way of saying, "We love you, but you won't drag us down with you." That's why her words hit so hard, because this wasn't one random incident. This was years of history crashing down. This was the family cutting ties with the cycle they admitted they created. This was about stopping the monster before it destroyed them all, and for fans who've been watching over a decade, it felt like a turning point. Towanda didn't just speak, she shattered the illusion that the Braxtons would always blindly stand behind Tamar. Of course, Tamar didn't take it well. Insiders claim she feels betrayed, convinced her family should defend her publicly no matter what they think privately. And that's the divide. Tamar thrives on public validation. Towanda thrives on private peace. Put those together and you get what we're seeing now. Tamar isolated online, spinning contradictions, while her family sits back, refusing to play the game. It's a dangerous spot for Tamar. Without her sister's backing, the narrative slips away from her control. She can post all the updates she wants, but if Towanda signals she's done, fans read it as confirmation. Confirmation that Tamar is exaggerating, confirmation that the injuries aren't real, confirmation that even her blood doesn't buy the story. And once that seed is planted, it's almost impossible to erase. This isn't just a sibling disagreement. This is a reputation battle. Tamar's image has always been dramatic, yes, but it was anchored by her sister's support. Without that, credibility crumbles. Towanda's refusal didn't just distance herself, it exposed the pattern. Fans no longer just see Tamar's contradictions, they see Towanda's silence as proof. Silence as proof. And maybe that's the real headline, not the fractured nose, not the missing teeth. The real story is the fracture inside the Braxton family itself. Because when one sister finally says, "Enough, I won't be dragged into your mess," it changes everything. It changes how fans see Tamar, it changes how producers see her. And most importantly, it forces Tamar to face herself. Because if even your own blood won't defend you, who do you really have left? By the time Towanda's message spread across social media, the focus had shifted completely. It wasn't about whether Tamar was hurt or not, it wasn't about her. ever-changing details. The conversation turned to something much bigger: why her sisters refused to defend her. That silence became the headline, that silence became the proof. And in that silence, fans saw the truth Tamar had tried to bury. Because let's face it, Tamar has a long history of attaching chaos to her career. Every big rollout seems tied to drama: a breakup, a health scare, a public breakdown. Right before a release, fans used to accept it, but now they're tired, they're over it. And when Towanda refuses to play along, that exhaustion becomes confirmation. Tawanda's silence didn't just distance her from scandal, it forced fans to connect the dots. Why would the sister who always carried the Braxton family values name suddenly step back? The answer is simple: because the pattern has become undeniable. Tamar's chaos isn't coincidence, it's strategy. And Towanda is done being a pawn. In families like the Braxtons, reputation is collective. Producers don't just see Tamar, they think about Tony. Networks don't just consider Tamar, they weigh Towanda and Trina too. The Braxtons are a package, whether they like it or not, which means every mess Tamar creates doesn't just hurt her, it drags them all. Tawanda's silence wasn't just personal, it was a message to the entire industry: we are not part of her circus. We will not co-sign her chaos. The internet went into overdrive the moment Tawanda's silence started trending. Some fans celebrated her decision, saying things like, "She's protecting her peace." And I respect that. Others felt conflicted, insisting family should defend family no matter what. But even those who tried to stand with Tamar Braxton couldn't ignore the truth: Tawanda's refusal carried real weight. The fact that she never said Tamar's name, yet still made headlines, showed just how sharp her words were. Everyone could feel the subtext. Everyone could read between the lines. And everyone knew exactly who she was talking about. Meanwhile, Tamar's credibility unraveled further. Every contradiction she made, from shifting stories to changing locations, became louder because her sisters weren't backing her up. If your own blood doesn't believe you enough to defend you, why would strangers? That question flooded the comments section, and Tamar's attempts to clap back, to post more updates, to spin the spotlight back in her favor, all of it fell flat. Without her sisters standing by her, the spotlight grew colder, harsher, and more humiliating. This is where the fracture inside the Braxton family became undeniable. For years, fans believed the Braxton family values motto: when one hurts, we all hurt. But Tawanda's stance proved something raw: sometimes blood isn't enough. Sometimes loyalty comes with limits. And sometimes survival means stepping away, even from the people you love most. And that's the tragic part of this saga: behind the gossip, behind the contradictions, behind the accusations of attention-seeking, this is still a family that rose to fame together, endured heartbreak together, and promised the world they would always stand as one. But now, for the first time, that promise has shattered. Towanda isn't defending Tamar anymore, she's defending herself. And that reality changes everything. Maybe that's exactly what Towanda wanted the world to see. Maybe she wanted to send a message that the family is finished enabling Tamar's theatrics. Maybe she wanted Tamar herself to realize there are consequences for refusing to change, for always leaning on chaos as a tool, for constantly playing the victim. Because without her sisters to shield her, Tamar is finally forced to face the backlash on her own. And perhaps, for the first time, she'll have to accept that attention isn't enough to save her. The fans aren't blind. They've connected the dots. They've remembered the scandals that always seem to appear right before a rollout. They've noticed how Tamar thrives on negative attention, and now, with Towanda stepping back, they feel validated. To them, the Braxton family just confirmed what they've been saying for years: Tamar is addicted to drama, and her sisters are done feeding into it. Of course, not everyone agrees. Some argue Tamar is misunderstood, that she's been through real trauma, that scars from abusive relationships and mental health struggles don't vanish just because she's in the public eye. But even those arguments can't erase the impact of Tawanda's silence, because at the end of the day, words can be twisted, actions cannot. And Tawanda's action, her refusal, screamed louder than anything Tamar could post. This moment is a turning point for the Braxtons. It's no longer Tamar versus strangers on the internet. It's Tamar versus her own family. And when blood refuses to stand with you, when family chooses peace over blind loyalty, that's when you know the dynamic has shifted for good. Tamar may try another storyline, may create another distraction, but the illusion of unity is gone. Towanda has made it clear she has her own life, her own priorities, her own peace, and she won't sacrifice any of it for Tamar's chaos. And maybe that's the real lesson here, because as messy as this story is, Tawanda's stance resonates with anyone who has set boundaries with toxic family members. Sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes loyalty turns into self-destructs. Sometimes the only way to survive is to protect your own peace. That's what Towanda showed the world. So where does this leave Tamar alone? Alone in her contradictions, alone in her theatrics, alone in her chaos, without her sisters beside her. She's no longer the wild card of the Braxton brand. She's just another celebrity fighting for sympathy online without the family's validation. She risks losing the credibility that once set her apart, and maybe, just maybe, this is the wake-up call she's been running from. Tawanda's silence wasn't heartless. It wasn't cruel. It was necessary. It was the boundary that should have been drawn years ago. And by refusing to defend Tamar, Towanda reminded the world and her sister that even family has limits. And now, the question I'll leave with you is simple. Was Towanda right to step back and protect her peace? Or should family always stand together no matter what? Share your thoughts below. Because this isn't just the Braxton story, it's the same choice so many of us face between loyalty and peace.